For centuries, the British pound sterling was the anchor of global wealth. London was the immutable capital, a global safe harbor, built on law, legacy, and the silent promise of economic stability. But tonight, that promise is being broken. A quiet financial tremor is shaking the very bedrock of the British economy. It is not an outflow of goods, or a trade war, or even a market crash. It is an exodus of people and their money. The numbers are staggering. In a single year, the United Kingdom is projected to lose a record number of its wealthiest citizens. The latest analysis suggests that 16,500 millionaires will abandon Britain's shores, the largest net loss of millionaires recorded for any country on Earth. Think about that. Britain is set to bleed more high-net-worth individuals than China, a nation facing unprecedented economic controls and political uncertainty. This isn't just a political headache, it's a colossal economic shift. This isn't just capital flight, it's a vote of no confidence, cast with private jets and liquidated assets, representing a staggering loss of investable capital. This class of individual funds, public services, creates high-value jobs and generates billions in tax revenue. The question is not if they are leaving, but why. What confluence of policy, politics, and pressure has turned the world's most famous financial capital into a place where the super-rich no longer feel welcome? To find the answer, we must first look at a 200-year-old privilege that has suddenly been weaponized. The privilege that protected the world's billionaires is gone, and the panic has begun. To understand the current panic, you have to understand the centuries-old rule that made London unique, the non-domiciled status, or Born in the days of empire, this privilege stated that a non-UK citizen living in the UK did not have to pay British tax on income or gains earned outside the UK, provided they did not bring that money into the country, the remittance basis. It was a unique, silent invitation to the world's ultra-wealthy. Bring your family, live in London, invest in our properties, put your children in our schools, and we will turn a blind eye to your overseas earnings. The unspoken contract. In exchange for this extraordinary tax shield, thousands of wealthy people would live, spend, and pay billions in UK taxes on their local income, underpinning the city's status. It worked. London became the magnet, attracting financiers, oligarchs, tech titans, and billionaires who sought the UK's legal stability and high quality of life, using the non-dam rule as their economic insurance policy. For 2 decades, however, this status was political lightning rod. To the political left, it was an unforgivable loophole, institutionalized injustice, allowing the super-rich to escape their moral and financial obligations. To the City of London, it was a necessary, competitive weapon. But political sentiment shifted. As austerity bit and public services struggled, the non-dom regime became untenable. The government's promise was clear. This 200-year-old privilege was finished. The remittance basis, the very foundation of the UK's appeal to mobile capital, would be replaced with a simple residence-based system. This meant a fundamental betrayal of that original contract. After a few years of residency, these individuals would suddenly be taxed on their entire global income, just like any UK citizen. The government sought fairness. What they achieved was fear. This was not just a tax hike. It was the removal of predictability. Wealthy individuals, particularly those with complex trusts and vast international assets, suddenly faced a looming tax bill that could run into the tens or even hundreds of millions. These are not people who budget with a spreadsheet. They plan their global finances over decades. The policy change was perceived as a hostile act, a signal that the UK was no longer interested in competing for global capital. Their calculation was swift and ruthless. The cost of staying was now greater than the cost of leaving. Many did not even wait for the final legislation to be passed. They saw the writing on the wall. For 16,500 of them, the choice was simple: liquidate, pack, and fly. We must understand the mind of the entrepreneur who makes this ultimate economic decision. For them, moving their life is merely risk mitigation. They are fleeing political uncertainty, the chilling perception that this tax change is only the first of many to come. The cost of this departure is more than just tax revenue. It is the cost of economic confidence. But if they are leaving, where are they going? What nation is currently offering a warmer welcome than Great Britain? Britain's loss is another country's gain. We travel to the destinations actively poaching Britain's wealth. When capital flees a high-tax jurisdiction, it never flies blindly. It flows directly toward rival nations that are actively marketing stability, predictability, and above all, zero personal income tax. The race to attract this departing wealth is intense, and the competitors offer stark contrasts to the UK's new regime. While global financial hubs like Singapore and New York are gaining, one nation has positioned itself as the undisputed champion of this migration: the United Arab Emirates. The UAE, specifically the financial hubs of Dubai and Abu Dhabi, has positioned itself as the economic antithesis of the tax-heavy UK. Here, the promise is simple: zero personal income tax, a clear, predictable legal framework for business, and a government that views the entrepreneur not as a target for taxation, but as a partner in national growth. The move is seamless. The UAE's Golden Visa program provides rapid long-term residency. The speed and certainty of setting up a business, often in free zones with unparalleled trade benefits, is dramatically faster than in London. The wealthy are not just moving their residences, they are moving their entire financial apparatus, the headquarters of their companies, their private trusts, and their venture capital operations. For the UK, this is not just a loss of wealthy residents. It's a devastating loss of the brain trust, the entrepreneurs, the venture capitalists, and the family offices that fuel economic innovation. The ideas and jobs these people create are now being planted in the sands of the Gulf. But the exodus is not monolithic. Other countries offer subtle, powerful incentives tailored to different types of wealth. Switzerland, the original sanctuary for global capital, remains a powerful magnet. It offers the lump sum taxation system, a privileged deal where a wealthy foreign resident negotiates a fixed annual tax payment, buying them complete peace of mind and predictability, the exact thing the UK removed. It is a haven of stability, neutrality, and discretion. Across the Atlantic, the United States is also gaining millionaires at an unprecedented rate, because it offers the world's largest and deepest capital markets, an unparalleled landscape for investment, and a competitive corporate tax structure that often makes the UK look sluggish. The comparison is damning. The UK is leading the world in millionaires lost, while the US is leading the world in millionaires gained. The message is clear: if the UK is no longer willing to compete for global capital, the world is more than happy to snatch it away. But what is the true price of this departure? The bill is coming due, and it runs into the tens of billions of pounds. The number is 66 billion, but the real cost is a drain on the UK's essential services. The total estimated wealth leaving the UK in a single year: a staggering 66 billion pounds in liquid investable assets. This isn't just a number on a spreadsheet. It's the lifeblood of the UK's financial ecosystem. This money funds venture capital. It's the seed money for startups, the collateral for business loans, and a primary source of philanthropic giving. This loss has a destructive multiplier effect. When wealth managers leave, the lawyers, accountants, private bankers, and all the highly skilled professionals who serve them follow. It's a slow, quiet brain drain that dismantles the prestigious infrastructure of the City of London. When the super-rich depart, the first to feel the pain are these skilled professionals, eroding the UK's reputation as the global employer of choice for finance. The core political promise was simple: make the rich pay more to fund public services. The tragic unintended consequence is that the wealthy are now paying zero. Consider the tax base. The top 1% of UK earners, a big part of the group that's now leaving, contribute roughly 1/3 of all income tax and capital gains tax revenue. When thousands of them exit, the government's tax base shrinks dramatically. The government sought to redistribute wealth through taxation. Instead, they just redistributed the taxpayers. This leaves the burden to fall squarely on the shrinking middle class and small businesses already struggling with high interest rates and inflation. The initial revenue forecasts for abolishing the non-dom status are already being challenged by analysts who believe the policy will cost the Treasury far more than it generates. It's a self-inflicted fiscal wound. The ripple effect extends far beyond the Treasury. The UK's ultra-prime property market, especially in London neighbourhoods like Mayfair, Belgravia, and Knightsbridge, was heavily reliant on the non-dom community. They were the main buyers and renters of London's most expensive real estate. Now, demand is softening. Property experts see a sudden flood of ultra-luxury listings and a measurable price decline at the very top of the market. This drop in high-end sales not only reduces stamp duty receipts, but could trigger a correction that sends shockwaves through the wider property market. Likewise, Britain's elite private schools, which cater heavily to non-dom families, are reporting noticeable drops in enrollment. The silence in these empty mansions and the dwindling numbers in these famous classrooms are the quiet sound of capital leaving the country. But is the exodus real, or is the wealthy elite just using media panic to protect their own fortunes? While headlines scream exodus, not everyone agrees. Critics argue the numbers are inflated, and the term exodus is just political hyperbole to shield the wealthy from more taxes. They point to the total figures. The 16,500 high net worth individuals leaving represent less than 0.5% of the UK's total millionaire population, which is well over 3 million. For many analysts, this is a minor adjustment, not a catastrophic flight. These skeptics argue that most UK millionaires are deeply rooted here. They built their businesses here, their social circles are here, and their family ties are unbreakable. They simply aren't mobile. The media attention, they argue, is focused on a handful of highly visible, highly mobile, and mostly foreign-born individuals who are always likely to relocate for strategic reasons. If the UK economy is supposedly collapsing and the tax environment is so hostile, why hasn't everyone left? Because the UK still has unique, powerful pull factors that few countries can match. The first is the rule of law. The integrity of British common law, the independence of its judiciary, and the stability of its legal system are priceless assets for global wealth management. The rich value the predictability of law more than the volatility of tax policy. The second is education and culture. Access to the world's most prestigious universities and private schools remains a primary, powerful reason wealthy families choose to stay, anchoring their roots in British society for generations. For many, legal certainty and an impeccable education for their children are ultimately more valuable than marginal tax savings. We also have to consider the motives of those who do leave. Many of these moves aren't permanent rejections of Britain, but sophisticated, temporary tax maneuvers. Imagine an entrepreneur who sells their business for hundreds of millions. They face a huge capital gains tax bill. The cost of leaving the UK for a few years to establish non-residency elsewhere is a rounding error compared to the tax saving. This is a strategic pause, not a permanent goodbye. They can park their wealth abroad, pay little to no tax, and then return once the major tax event has passed. But even if it's temporary, this migration signals a severe loss of confidence and represents a huge tax loss to the Treasury. It is a clear sign the UK has priced itself out of the competition for its own wealthiest citizens. The UK government finds itself caught in a classic fiscal trap. They need more money for public services, to pay down national debt, and to create a fairer society. The logical, politically popular target is the wealthy. But every move to increase their tax burden seems to speed up the flight, ultimately shrinking the tax base. This is the Laffer curve in action. The theory that beyond a certain point, higher tax rates lead to lower total revenue because taxpayers just leave. The UK is too small and interconnected to set its own wealth tax rules without consequence. If you target the highly mobile wealthy, you quickly become uncompetitive, and they simply vote with their feet. The tax doesn't get paid, and the economy suffers. The government faces a stark choice: pursue a socially desirable tax fairness at the cost of economic competitiveness, or dramatically reverse course, cut taxes, and risk betraying their political promises. The real poison is uncertainty. The wealthy can adapt to high tax rates as long as they're stable and predictable. The current problem is the constant threat of change. The very discussion of new policies, a potential wealth tax, an exit tax, or more hikes to capital gains taxes, enough to make them conclude that the UK is no longer a stable place to keep their capital. While other countries are offering decade-long tax holidays to attract this capital, the UK is actively debating how to make the environment more challenging. This political instability sends a clear, chilling message to investors worldwide. The rules can change here without warning. The Great Capital Flight is more than a tax story. It's a defining moment for modern Britain. The country is choosing a path of political commitment to reduce inequality, but it's paying an immediate concrete price for that decision. As these 16,500 millionaires and their billions leave, the UK risks losing its hard-won status as a global financial center. The wealth they take with them is now funding the growth of Dubai, Zurich, and New York. Will the policies achieve their social goals, or will the costs of the exodus eventually force a humiliating U-turn? Only time will tell. But for now, the message is clear. Britain's wealthiest citizens have cast their vote with their feet, and the flow of capital is headed one way out. The question for Britain is no longer about tax avoidance, but about retention. How do you fund the state without choking the economy that supports it? The UK has discovered that global capital is mobile, sensitive, and utterly unemotional. It goes where it is best treated. The City of London has lost its immunity. The safe harbor is now exposed to the global storm. The clock is ticking for the government to decide what kind of country it wants to be, fair or financially competitive. It appears, for now, it cannot be both. Before we conclude, a necessary disclosure. This documentary, The Great Capital Flight, is produced solely for informational and educational purposes. It is based on publicly available reports, economic projections, and political analysis. This content is not intended to constitute professional, financial, legal, or tax advice. Any decisions regarding investments, residency, or taxation should be made only after consulting with a qualified professional advisor. While we strive for accuracy, the figures and projections discussed are estimates and are subject to change based on policy and market conditions. This presentation reflects the narrative as compiled at the time of production. The story of Britain's wealth exodus is ongoing. The consequences will be felt for decades, but the conversation starts here. Did the UK government make the right choice? Will this pursuit of fairness ultimately destroy economic competitiveness? We want to hear your perspective. If this documentary opened your eyes to the forces reshaping Britain, please take 1 second to hit that like button and to join our community of informed thinkers. Click subscribe and turn on notifications. You won't want to miss our next deep dive into global finance. The true power of this story lies in its reach. If you know someone who needs to see this analysis, please share this video widely. Help us elevate the debate. Thank you for watching. Until next time, stay curious.